If you haven't subscribed to the Big Daddy Football Corner YouTube channel, please do subscribe. And those that have, danko. Guys, that post, from Orlando Pirates, that had Jose and the Last Dance, guys, it broke a lot of hearts, including myself. Today I'm wearing black. I'm gonna be wearing black for the rest of the week in mourning, of the news that, that lovely Jose Rivero is leaving Orlando Pirates. Because I've said it in every platform, for me, he's the best coach in the past 2 decades, regardless that he never won the league. For me, he just fit into that Orlando Pirates model of doing things, just like a glove, in your hand. Because also he's a coach that never complained about anything, whether it's injuries, management not buying players. He carried on and never said a thing. I still don't want to accept that Jose is leaving. I still have got hope, man. Because for me, if he win any of the 2 cups, CAF Champions League or the league, he deserves a statue, at that Orlando Pirates Orlando Stadium, So just before the match, I thought to myself and say, if Jose could rotate the entire squad and play, 11 different from the one that played in Nigeria, I wouldn't be surprised, because the Orlando Pirates team only came back on Thursday, landed in South Africa. They only had Friday to prepare. There's nothing you will do with MD-1. There's absolutely no training that actually happened, before this Polokwane match. And I did not expect much, But I said to myself, when I saw the lineup, I said, Orlando Pirates players, welcome to CAF Champions League football, because this is where you train less, but you play more. And that lineup that Jose put up, for me, it was a statement to every Orlando Pirates fan, to say, it's not over. I believe that the team, is still in this league, quest. And Jose was just saying to every Orlando Pirates fan base, keep believing, because it might happen. So I want everyone that has lost hope, to carry on that particular hope, right? I look at the lineup here, Polokwane City, and I said to myself, there is no Matuludi, there is no Nkwe, who are their number 1 right back and left back. And I said to myself, this is a game that Orlando Pirates have a chance to win. There shouldn't be any excuses of why they could not. Let's get into the first half. Just in the first 2 minutes, already you could see which Orlando Pirates might be caught on transition, because the back 4 was back. And when the back 4 is playing, you always know that vulnerability of being caught on transition will keep lacking on the Orlando Pirates side. In the very first 2 minutes, lights were on to say, hey, Orlando Pirates, you might concede on transition. Guys, I hate that Orlando Pirates 2-2 rest defense. I remember the game against Magesi. I remember the games against Sundowns. It's a cancer at Orlando Pirates. That's why I'm not a fan, personally, of the back 4, because our fullbacks are not disciplined enough to always ensure that they maintain the 3-1 rest defense at all times. They all go, all they go forward at the same time. Look at what happened. In that almost goal, because it was that 2-2 defense. There was a space on the other side, there was a space on the right hand side, and then Lokuzano Apolis took both players, and when he cut on the inside, they all followed him. Then they left the player on the other side who was just wide open. I really, really hate the rest defense because it always creates the 2v2 situation. And if you beat one of those players, then you have a problem. So, but after that scare, I saw Sibisi, he started adjusting his position. And when Diallo pushes higher, then he was, he was providing cover, because Orlando Pirates always wants to play, especially when they're playing Umako, you want to use Diallo more. And there should always be 3 defenders left, and they always need to adjust themselves and position themselves in a way that the vacant space that gets left by the right back, is also covered, right? But Orlando Pirates looked like conceding every time, there was transition, right? Then the other thing that I also noticed, in this game, I was like, I look at Orlando Pirates build up. Yo, guys, it's very slow. You feel like sleeping. And I went and I thought, man, the Orlando Pirates need to copy what MC Alger was doing. I really, really want us to copy what Champions League has taught us, because MC Alger, whenever they were built up, they build at pace. The ball was the one that was quicker, but the players were not running with the ball. And that's what I want to Orlando Pirates to try and adopt, because if you move the ball quicker, then you are moving the block in front of you, as well quicker, because they need to shift and cover spaces quickly. And if you do that for the entire 90 minutes, or let's say the entire first half, you're gonna tie them up. Because as long as you move the ball faster, the spaces will always open up, and then you play into those particular spaces. I just felt that, the PSL at times, the build is very, very slow. It's a very, very slow pace. I hope that, the next coach that's going to come is going to look at that we move the ball quicker, especially on that build-up, right? There was a Orlando Pirates supporter, on Twitter. I can't remember whether it was Muzi or now, that tweeted, and he said, he felt that Nkota's best position is being, a center forward. And to a certain extent, I agree, but I like to describe him as a player with a double profile, because he can play as a winger and he can play as a center forward. Look where he was when he made that pass from Urele, because he received the ball, he cut into the inside, and then he made that pass. Also, look when there was that interpass or interplay between him and Makhopa. He received the ball on the wing, then he made a run, just like a typical winger, and then he had those cutbacks, and that he made. He made that dash run, on that right hand side. For me, when I looked at him, he also had Ukashas Malula in him, man. But at the same time, he's got these traditional direct winger attributes. I don't know if people notice, that Nkota strives more. He even scores more goals when he plays with Makhopa in the field of play. Look at the double that he played. He scored against Belzodan, and now look at what he did with MC Alger. Look at the through balls, that Makhopa, keep dishing out, on whenever Nkota makes space. Makhopa always drop into the spaces that Nkota likes to run in, and then those spaces become vacant, and he runs with it. But look when Mabasa is playing, he looks a little bit different. I don't remember him scoring in a game where Mabasa was scoring, was playing. You guys can correct me if there's anything, if that game there is one. And these cutbacks, I love them more, because it's something that I saw him doing at TDC, and I like him to do that more. And I also want more players to crash into the box to get into that, right? The first half, for me, those are the observation of my first half. Then came the second half, 58 minutes, Dlamini, Mabasa in. And always, that when Dlamini comes in, we want to break, the block in front of us. Also fresh legs, because there's 2 players played, a very, very intense game. The goal came, right? The goal came. I hear people even on Twitter and social media, they say, Orlando Pirates, it was through luck. That goal was through luck. And I'm saying winning football games has the element of luck anyway. Any mistake that happened by the opposition or player is luck, because why is he making that mistake in your game and not in the other game? So, but I always say in football, you create your luck. But if you go deeper, you look at that, you look at that goal, right? And that goal was not by luck, or let me say, it was not by default, because there was that variation that Orlando Pirates did on that short lateral free kick. And for me, this is what made the goal. Just that faint run that Dlamini did, because he pretended as if he was walking away from the ball, and that fooled the Polokwane center backs. And he caught them by surprise because he just made a 10. And when they were looking that, this ball is going to be played by Ulokuzan, was going to play it by Urele. And that's what they do. And they pushed the line a little bit, thinking that Relo is going to take a shot. And then Dlamini just made that 10 around, and he then turned and then come back and played the ball. But if you look at it, Orlando Pirates, especially the reference players, on that particular free kick, they started making the run ahead of the Polokwane City defender, which put them in an advantage to get to the ball first. Their runs, for me, they were well treated because they were made in between the opposition of the defenders. Any of the three players, those the reference players could have got to the ball first. That Polokwane City players were caught with their pants down, by just that, deceiving a walk. Big ups to him, But there are three players that impressed me the most in that game. But I'm gonna just talk to two. For me, he was the only live wire in the entire game. When he was in the ball, he looked like he was going to produce magic. He was always a threat. Even though Polokwane City, they were double marking him, but every time when he was on the ball, he looked like he can do something. He almost even scored a goal, in the first half. Another player that people, they are very, very underrating him, Nkosinathi Sibisi, But let's go look at his stats just to prove what I'm trying to say. He is the player that had the most touches in the entire 22 players that are on the field, right? And then if you look at it, he had 110. Touches on the ball. He had a whooping 91% passing accuracy. And somebody can come and say, no, it was sideways passes. Let's look deeper, right? He made 15 long passes, and out of them, 12 were accurate. That's an 80%, passing accuracy in terms of long balls. Look at his crown jewels. There were 8. He won 7 of them. Guys, Nkosinathi Sibisi is an unseen hero in that Orlando Pirates team. For me, he's one of the most improved players this particular season. Yes, Umbogazi played well. He had a good game on 1v1 situation. He came tops. He was brave. He was even making dribbles at the back. He's strong. Yes, he did. But for me, those two players, I think they did well. But friends, if there's any detail that I've missed, please like, comment, share this particular video. Mapagania ayeye.